Well, Donald Trump immediately tried to distance himself from the candidates who he endorsed who lost in last night's election results. Donald Trump has been successful in some Republican primaries this year in destroying the careers of Republicans. That's all he's been trying to do so far. Donald Trump's only campaigning so far this year has been against Republicans, and it has been based purely on vengeance. New York Times columnist Jamelle Bouie, in his column titled Trump's Lust for Vengeance, says that vengeance is Donald Trump's one and only consistent pursuit in his second term as president. Jamelle Bouie writes, the principal aim of Donald Trump's second term is revenge. Trump is consumed by his lust for revenge. And so he has taken his revenge against Republican Senator John Cornyn, for example, who lost his Texas reelection primary to Donald Trump's endorsed candidate, Ken Paxton, in May. And Ken Paxton is so scandal-plagued that he is trailing in the polls in Texas to Democrat James Tallarico, a talented campaigner, the likes of which Ken Paxton has never faced. So Donald Trump's lust for vengeance could cost Republicans a Senate seat in Texas and control of the United States Senate in November. And Donald Trump's lust for vengeance could cost Republicans the House of Representatives, because Donald Trump's lust for vengeance has left him and the Republicans in Congress completely lost on the political issue of the year, which is now a two-pronged issue. It began as the struggle of affordability in this country, which has only been worsened by Donald Trump's war in Iran, which has rocketed up gasoline prices and made life all the more unaffordable. That leaves former Republican Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy worried.
The midterms right now, I'm worried because the generic ballot's over 6. So that's advantage to the Democrats. I'm worried that I'm not seeing the clear message from Republicans. What is the plan of why you should stay in the majority? What is your economic plan going forward? What are you touting as the successes that you've had already?
To Donald Trump, success is getting James Comey indicted for posting a photograph of seashells, even if the indictment is thrown out. To Donald Trump, vengeance is its own success. But voters don't see it that way. Donald Trump continues to play suicidal games with the economy while polls show voters trust Democrats more than Donald Trump and Republicans on the economy now. Donald Trump threatened 50%, yes, 50% tariffs on our biggest trading partner in the world and best possible neighbor, Canada. Those tariffs would, of course, be illegal and unconstitutional. And today, Donald Trump decided to delay the implementation of his illegal and inflation-causing tariffs on Canada, making everything we buy from Canada more expensive through tariffs that Americans now know are paid only in the United States by Americans. Donald Trump's years-long lying about other countries paying his tariffs no longer works, even with Trump voters. And so once again, Donald Trump did what Wall Street calls his taco move on tariffs, meaning Trump always chickens out. And nothing proves weakness more than issuing threats and then backing down from those threats. And that cycle makes Donald Trump the weakest president in American history on that score alone, the score of threats issued and threats backed down from. Donald Trump's the huge winner on that one in presidential history. Steve Rattner literally charts Donald Trump's economic failures on a regular basis and delivers his reporting on Morning Joe on this network. Today, Steve Rattner produced a new chart of Donald Trump's failure. In Donald Trump's inaugural address for this term, he said, America will be a manufacturing nation once again. We will have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have. And today, Steve Rattner showed the manufacturing job losses. Yes, losses during Donald Trump's presidency. Steve Rattner said bringing jobs home was a core campaign promise for Donald Trump. Factory jobs peaked under Biden and have declined by over 60,000 since Trump's inauguration. Donald Trump doesn't know that, of course, because the disgraced clowns working for him, very much including his Treasury Secretary, would not dare tell him information like that. which is why the Treasury Department under Donald Trump's stunningly incompetent Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has lost more Senate-confirmed staff members than have ever left the Treasury at this point in a presidency. One important Senate-confirmed Treasury official, Treasury General Counsel Brian Morrissey, quit after Scott Bessent agreed to create a $1.7 billion slush fund for Donald Trump to pay criminals who attacked the Capitol on January 6th and tried to kill police officers and the vice president. Treasury Secretary Bessent did everything he could to deliver that money to those vicious attackers of police officers and attempted murderers. And he has not offered a single idea to improve the economic well-being of a single American other than those people who attacked the Capitol. Scott Bessent will probably be one of those people who spends the rest of his life trying to convince the world that he spent all of his time with Donald Trump in the back room trying to talk Donald Trump out of doing bad things or trying to minimize the effect of Donald Trump's bad things. No one should believe a word Scott Bessent says now or a word he might say in his memoirs or in what will be his lifetime attempts in interviews at self-justification for the most disgraceful service ever offered by a Treasury Secretary of the United States of America. Aging politicians have had a tough time this year making their cases for re-election against younger opponents. Donald Trump has made things much worse for aging politicians. Donald Trump is an 80-year-old raving lunatic who on any given day could claim, as he did yesterday, that the Strait of Hormuz is U.S. territory, or some other certifiably insane statement like that. But Bernie Sanders is 4 years older than Donald Trump, and the kids still love him because he speaks their language of concerns and agree with him or not. Bernie Sanders' mind is as sharp as it has ever been. Betting on younger candidates against older candidates is more complicated than it might look this year, especially in Massachusetts, where the Boston Globe's headline for its report of its own poll of the Senate race there quotes a voter saying, "I'll vote for the old man." Ed Markey was the young man in Massachusetts politics when he won his first election to the state legislature at age 27. He is now the same age as Donald Trump, and he is running for re-election to the United States Senate for what he says will be his last term. A new Boston Globe poll shows Senator Markey with a 14-point lead over his primary challenger, Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton, who at 47 years old is 33 years younger than Ed Markey. Seth Moulton has a classic resume for success in Massachusetts, a Harvard graduate and a Marine combat veteran. But Stephanie Dealey told the Globe pollsters that, quote, while Moulton brings a lot of good skills to the table, she said she doesn't believe in voting out someone who's done a good job without good reason, and I don't believe that age is a good reason. It would be wonderful if he was 20 years younger, she said of Markey, but I don't think that he's showing any signs that his age is impacting his ability to do the job. Adam Tessier, a 39-year-old accountant who responded to the poll, told the Globe he is against geriatrics in Congress, but even he said, quote, I'll vote for the old man. When Ed Markey was Seth Moulton's age, he too was a member of Congress, and he was waiting patiently to run for Senate, knowing that Ted Kennedy was going to remain the senior senator for life, and the junior senator, John Kerry, was just beginning his second term. That was the traditional approach to trying to move from the House to the Senate in those days. Wait your turn. And Massachusetts is a traditional place. Yes, Massachusetts is our most liberal, or certainly one of our most liberal states. But it is also a place full of tradition, including political tradition. And what Massachusetts voters might end up saying to Seth Moulton is wait your turn. Observe that tradition. In the immortal words of the last Massachusetts congressman to serve as Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill, all politics is local. Shortly after releasing their poll, the Boston Globe, the biggest newspaper in the state, endorsed Seth Moulton in the Senate campaign, with Election Day now 2 weeks away. And if Ed Markey wins his reelection, it will be because he does not exhibit the signs of age that Donald Trump exhibits every day, including appearing to sometimes fall asleep in meetings. But Donald Trump has never been competent to make a presidential decision at any age, as he demonstrates every day in new ways, including in his imagined relationship with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. When Donald Trump was a much younger man in his first term as president, he exchanged what he called love letters with the North Korean dictator.
I was really being tough, and so was he. And we would go back and forth, and then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters.
He was 72. That was after he threatened North Korea with nuclear annihilation in what he said would be fire and fury. And now Donald Trump, who spends his day attacking imaginary American communists, is trying to make nice with the worst, cruelest, most murderous communist dictator in the world.
Mr. President, are you exchanging written letters with Kim Jong-un?
Can't tell you that.
And are you hoping for
But I get along with him, Rick.
Are you
and you
hoping
know
for
what? The
meeting
fact
this
that I
year?
get along with him, that's a good thing, not a bad thing.
Are you hoping
He
this
has
year?
57 very powerful nuclear weapons. Should have never allowed it to happen. They should have never allowed it. If I were president, I wouldn't have allowed it. But he's got them. I get along with him very well. You can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. And I know Kim Jong-un very well, and he's going to be fine. As long as we have a smart president, he's going to be fine. If we have a dumb president, then he's probably not going to be so fine.
Are you expecting to meet with him later this year?
Yeah, I will be.
Donald Trump reduced the American commitment to military exercises with South Korea this year and has complained that South Korea has refused to help him in his war with Iran. And now, in a desperate attempt to turn attention away from his war with Iran, Donald Trump is desperately seeking a photo op with the worst dictator in the world.